Barbenheimer, the unlikely double feature that has taken the internet by storm. In one corner is Christopher Nolan's new 3-hour drama about the man who helped develop atomic bombs during World War II, and in the other corner is Greta Gerwig's pink pastel-colored satire based on the popular Mattel toy line. They're such polar opposites, but because of how much they've been memed, it's impossible to look at them as separate entities. Well, this weekend I went to see both of them, so why not review them in the same video? Starting off with Barbie. In case you missed my hour-long binge watch of all 42 Barbie movies, I've kind of become an expert on this franchise. I was really curious about this movie just based on how bizarre it sounded. A live-action Barbie movie for adults starring Margot Robbie from the director of Lady Bird and Little Women. Even if it turned out crap, I had to at least check it out. And the good news is, it wasn't crap. It was actually really good. The story isn't anything you haven't seen before, but the different twists and turns it takes and the self-aware edge makes it immensely entertaining. I appreciated that it was both a love letter and kind of a critique on the Barbie franchise. Just looking at the production value alone, the sets, the costumes, the little background details, you can tell this was made by people who love the source material and had a blast bringing this world to life. But on the flip side, it does point out a lot of the negative aspects of Barbie, like how picture perfect and body conforming and corporate she is. And even with the amount of changes they've made over the years adapting the toy to be more inclusive, it still hasn't broken that stigma, and you can see the characters in the movie taking steps to break that stigma. It is a very feminist movie, which I know can be a turnoff for a lot of people, but even those aspects they play around with the Ken subplot. Speaking of, the acting across the board was great. Margot Robbie is just doing her default American accent, but she channels enough enthusiasm and charisma to not just come across as Barbie Quinn. Ryan Gosling was hilarious as Ken. He has a song number that if it doesn't get nominated for an Oscar, we riot. But my favorite Ken was probably Simu Liu. The petty rivalry between him and Ken Gosling is hilarious. And Michael Cera as Alan is of course a treat. The movie is a lot of fun, but it's not perfect. My biggest issue was in some of the family dynamics. I'm gonna try not to give too much away, but this movie borrows a lot from the Lego Movie in that it includes some of its dramatic themes, but they don't feel as fleshed out as they did in the Lego Movie. Not all the jokes landed, and there were a few characters and actors that kind of got shoved to the sideline that I would have liked to see more of. But other than that, I had a great time at this movie. If you're a fan of Barbie from any age, or even if you're someone who's never played with Barbie in their life, you will get something out of this movie. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go watch the nuclear bomb movie to rinse all the pink and glitter out of my eyes. Seriously, no human should watch this many Barbie movies in such a short amount of time. Check this out if you get the chance, and I'd give it a 4 out of 5. Next up, Oppenheimer, the new historical drama directed by Christopher Nolan and starring Cillian Murphy as the father of the atomic bomb, J. Robert Oppenheimer. The film shows Oppie and a team of physicists entering a race against the Nazis and the Soviets to build something big enough to end war, as well as the horrific consequences of that kind of power. Being 100% transparent, I am not a big history buff, and the extent of my knowledge about J. Robert Oppenheimer doesn't go beyond the epic rap battle. With this movie being 3 hours long, it doesn't allow itself to skimp out on any information. It gives you a pretty dense look into this guy's life, from his early years in boarding school to his development of nuclear warfare to his suspicions of allying with communists. The one thing that might make this movie a bit difficult to follow for casuals who are just being introduced to this guy is the chaotic pacing. A lot of it is framed around this trial that we keep cutting back to in between bits of the story, as well as seeing it from the perspective of Robert Downey Jr.'s Louis Strauss. So the information overload, the pacing, and the fact that various characters come and go with very minimal introduction or dialogue. Speaking of which, why did they bother putting Josh Peck in this movie if they're only going to give him like 2 lines?
Who's Josh Peck again?
Exactly. But not only was I able to follow it pretty okay, but I was invested the whole way through. Even though it's one of those cases where you can kind of piece together where it's going, the steps getting there are stressful and intense. And even after they test the bomb, the aftermath is just as insane. As Oppenheimer is burdened with the guilt of what his creations have caused, he's also being questioned on his loyalty to the US. The film also looks outstanding. I'm sure people in the film space have seen the viral picture of the giant 70mm IMAX reel that is showing in certain theaters, and I'm pissed that none of the theaters theaters in Chicago were showing it. But still, even in the IMAX showing we saw, it looked spectacular. I love the contrast of showing Strauss's perspective in black and white and Oppenheimer's perspective in color. I love sort of the visual glimpses into Oppenheimer's mind and how chaotic everything looked. And the cinematography as a whole just looked gorgeous. The acting across the board is also great. Cillian Murphy steals the show. He looks like a man who has seen some shit. He delivers that cold expression with those horrified eyes so well. I can't express enough how blown away I was with this movie. For something that's 3 hours long and so information heavy, I was glued to my seat the entire time. Easily top 10 movies of the year for me. 4.5 out of 5. And that does it for this review. Let me know down in the comments if you've seen Barbenheimer. What did you think of them? If you haven't seen them, which are you going to see first? Let me know in the comments below and look forward to more videos coming soon.